Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Today is Thursday, February 9th, and we are wrapping up the week following FOMC. We do have CPI next Tuesday, which will be very interesting based on price action. But for now, we have, two, 3 days left in trading until CPI is released for US markets, and we have about 5 days left for crypto markets. So, what is going to happen as we lead up to Tuesday? Well, starting with the dollar yet again, we did drop down to the level that I mentioned yesterday. Not exactly that point, which is resistance for the previous range, swing failure pattern, swing failure, swing failure. So 102.5 is really 102.47 is really that number. And obviously, little wick down, retesting the 200 estimated moving average. So if this, level holds and it moves higher, I would expect risk to move lower. And obviously, if this ends up moving lower back into the previous range, then risk will move higher. So in a CPI example, if CPI is good, dollar is probably around here. If CPI is bad, dollar is probably up here. So very much kind of holding pattern, scary bull flag right now underneath the estimated 200 moving average. If it gets above that and then above 103.5, things are definitely going to get a little bit more hairy for risk markets. And of course, if it breaks under 102.47, things should be looking a little bit better. So continually monitoring this, but DXY volatility probably going to end up influencing risk markets, especially around CPI. So what are we looking at for equities? Again, lower equal lows, lower or higher low, or above the previous daily close. The number this morning was 41.45, which was, the VWAP cloud. It obviously broke down, tagged the VWAP. We're at the previous daily close. That was the outlook. If 41.45 broke, it did. So we're here. If the previous daily close breaks at 41.20, we'll be down to 4,100, and we obviously have support lower at 40.45. And of course, if this VWAP can hold as well as this previous daily close at 41.20, then we could make it all the way back up to previous highs for potentially an equal high or maneuver higher. I will say I do think it's a little bit tough to be making very bullish bets right now. Basically we're in a flat range, making some higher lows, but still unable to break through resistance. So for now, resistance is exactly what it is. Resistance, and should be probably shorted until we get a confirmed break above resistance. And of course, many of these confirmed breaks end up checking back down. Like technically confirmation there, shot back down, no confirmation, no real confirmation here, no slight confirmation, but ended up moving higher and then immediately moving lower. So, very tough battle for the entirety of February at the 41.60 level. I would expect that to continue, but of course, if it does get flipped, that's a good long entry up to 4,200 or higher. So looking at Bitcoin, very similar outlook. The VWAP was, resistance, really that VWAP cloud. We have dumped back into the demand zone. Demand zone's holding pretty strong. We had a wick in there last night. We had multiple wicks in there late January and stayed out of it for most of February until now. So if we predicted it to drop, if that was rejected, it was. Now we're sitting around the demand zone. The demand zone fails, then we're heading back down to probably 21.3. Then the low end of that previous range is 20.4. If we get if we confirm any lower than 20.4, I have a feeling that this rally is basically going to be over, and that's going to be pretty deathly for price action across the board. But if we can hold above 20.4 or even at 21.4, then I do think that we still have a chance for continuation after a little bit more consolidation and ranging. So current Bitcoin outlook, I'm not very bullish, but just judging by how the demand zone has acted, and if equities continue the trajectory towards 41.60, probably going to see Bitcoin, near the previous daily close around 23. Really need to flip 23. As you can see, it's been, resistance for a lot. We spiked up and immediately got shot back down to 23 and lower. So 23 hardcore number, and then 23.3 also another hardcore number, because that was where both previous support, previous resistance, and most recently previous resistance when Jerome Powell spoke. So not a bad long here. Would definitely be conservative in your targets, but if we do break down below this demand zone, we will definitely probably see 21.4, maybe 20.4, and this range, you kind of hope and pray saves us, or things will get nasty. Looking at Ethereum, very similar outlook. Looking at ETH BTC very quickly, still very strong, at resistance, so has not broken through yet, but ETH looking a little bit stronger than Bitcoin, has still made equal lows or higher lows in comparison to previous trajectory. Obviously, a little bit lower than the previous one, but in the grand scheme of macro price action, higher lows and equal lows as we move higher. So that's obviously a good sign. We have the 200 estimated moving average of resistance, as well as the VWAP, as well as range resistance, as well as the previous daily close. So that area between 1640 and 1650, as you saw earlier this morning, a lot of wick action, should see some selling there. But if you can break above it, then you have trajectory back towards 1700 or higher. So 1650 to 1640, very key area for ETH as we move forward. If that continues to get rejected and gets rejected again, we're back down to 1600, and then we have support at 1540, 1530 to hopefully save us. And of course, if we start breaking below 1500, I will start to get a bit worried in relation to ETH's bullish price action, as that would likely cut the momentum that we've been on, even if, we could still break down to 1530 as well as 1500 and still end up bouncing and being bullish, as, forming a larger range with some swing failure pattern up here. But if anywhere below that, your bullish structure breaks, your momentum dies, and you may see a lot of sells come in the board. But we're still far away from that. Hourly RSIs, getting oversold. Doesn't look like we've got any, black swan type crazy death red candles on the way, but it does, this price action is designed to be as painful as possible, chop you up, and then make a large move before you can maybe make another attempt, or after you're stopped out. So be very careful. Again, very similar to Bitcoin, not the worst long in the world, considering it's at the equal lows. We got a lot of wicking action down here, but again, 1640 to 1650 is solid resistance right now. So I would prefer to see a break in that and long the confirmation, or if we end up getting rejected again, another ugly wick, that'll be a double top at this area, and then we'll fly back down to 1600 or lower. So not the most confusing outlook in the world, but it is definitely difficult in the context of, do I want to actually trade this? Personally, I am not. Focusing on other things, tracking the market, looking at AI coins, and trying to figure out what the next meta is going to be. Bitcoin ordinals are very popular now. I've not dove into those. So there's a lot going on in the market right now. And if you wanted to take some time off and study other things while, passively tracking the charts, then this is probably the price action to do it in. So we know, what's bullish, we know what's bearish, and right now we're just sitting in a holding pattern because DXY is doing the same, and so is equities. So until we get a better signal, we may not have, any strong volatility until we get to CPI. It would not shock me to see a basic range for another 5 days, as we head into that pretty key number that markets will be looking for, to continue to assess how much hiking the Fed is going to have to do in the future. So good luck, happy trading, and speak to everybody tomorrow.